You know, I never thought I'd be able to get this off on this channel immediately, but with this John Morant trade going on, I feel the need to finally get off my chest this thought that I had in regards to the Memphis Grizzlies and how they failed John Morant and how they failed their organization in a sense as a whole. I look back on that 2021-2022 team with such a love and admiration for what they did. I'm talking John Morant, I'm talking Dylan Brooks, I'm talking Bane, I'm talking Jaren Jackson, Brandon Clark. You know what I mean? Those guys, man. So, Steven Adams. What they did for the game of basketball was so exciting because I love watching them every night. I was on League Pass, and I want to say they were my League Pass team. Like I would watch them every other game, bro. Like, you know what I'm saying? And this is coming from me, a Knicks fan. I would watch them just as much as the Knicks at that point. Um, what they built was beautiful, and you could tell that they were fighting for each other. They were supportive for one another, and that they really cared about what they did over there. Um, but it does start with Ja. Admittedly, I know Ja definitely messed up. He did what he did. We don't even got to talk about it, but we know what he did. And then, you know, here's where I think that the Grizzlies really messed up, though. Um, Dylan Brooks being an enforcer, being who he is, being the person that gets under the skin of other players. You know what I'm saying? He talks a little smack about LeBron in regards to, you know, his play and whatever, calls him old, you know what I mean? And after that, they say not only is he released, he's banned from the team. Now, that word is what threw me up. Banned from a team is crazy. Like you got to do something crazy in regards to like you have to do something crazy for you to say that. You know what I mean? And all he did was be who he was the whole year, and the fact that y'all are treating him like that is crazy. You know what I mean? Immediately after that, you know what I'm saying? Not too long after that, they get rid of Bane. You know what I'm saying? Jaren Jackson next. You know what I'm saying? And then lastly, RP to Brandon Clark, man. You know what I'm saying? Definitely. It's sad. Steven Adams also out the door. You know what I mean? Just very sad how they literally did the opposite of what was done for Brunson. Like they had the community for Ja. They had the team that you can tell would fight for him, would ride for him. You know, is playing to also support him because he's also supporting them. I remember, I think Ja won an award and he gave it to Ben and said, nah, he deserves that. You know what I'm saying? Like they rode for each other that much. Post game interviews, they're all around each other collectively. By the way, that's where the Thunder got that from. You know what I'm saying? Like they're literally doing all of the right things to show that this is a team for the future. They're getting the older players like every game. The Warriors did not want to play them because they're so irritant to them. You know what I'm saying? LeBron is like, yo, I'm tired of these boys. You know what I'm saying? He's cursing at them on the court. I remember this. You know what I'm saying? And that's not a bad thing. When you are getting under the skin of the older players, that means you're doing something right. And it sounds crazy, but it's true. But they literally did the opposite of what was done for Brunson on the Knicks. On the Knicks, we talked about it, but they gave him Dante, they gave him Josh Hart, McCall, literally all of his boys, and gave him a sense of community that he felt comfortable with. You know what I mean? And polar opposite for Ja. You know what I'm saying? Again, understand that he did do what he did, but then to say, all right, we're gonna get all of your boys out of here. You know what I'm saying? One by one, reset this thing. You're still gonna be here. You're gonna hate the coach, and these new players that are coming in, you're gonna end up getting into arguments and want to fight with them. Because if you remember at the practice facility one time, recorded, they have Vince Williams and Ja ready to get it on in the middle of practice. Crazy. So now here we are. John Morant is getting traded to the Blazers, and it is reported that he is getting traded for Chris Murray, Keegan Murray's brother, and Jeremy Grant. And man, when they say that his value was low in regards to like trades, I thought they was playing, but and I mean that with no disrespect to those two players, man, but I at least thought we see a pick in there. They literally got picks, plural for Jaren Jackson and for Bane. You know what I'm saying? And again, like I said, it's very sad to see how this is going for Ja. And now, if I'm being honest with you, here he is. He's on the Blazers now. I don't like what I'm seeing there. I'm not a fan of it yet. Obviously the offseason just started, but you look at what they have there. It's Scoot, it's Dame, it's Ja, it's Drew. That's four guards right there. Obviously Shaden Sharp, we gonna count him as a guard as well. Yeah. Tormani, what I mean, good player as well. Um, Denny, of course. I mean, the team is not bad, but I don't know. They gotta let go of somebody in that guard position. They gotta let go maybe one or two of those guys at the guard position so they could build depth in other areas. But that's if they're even trying to compete. A lot of people are saying that this trade is only to help roll over help Jaylen Brown trade go and make that happen, or even something down the line in regards to Nikola Jokic, um, which would also be interesting. But we'll see what happens there. As far as for Jado, he definitely needs to make this a redemption year. He definitely needs to make this a year in which he shows that he is capable of being the player that we remember he is, because I believe opportunity is given in this league, and they gave him that opportunity to be like and I say this with love because I'm one of them, the urban connection player. You know what I'm saying? They gave him that, and then they kind of passed that along to AE. If I'm being honest with you, and one of my favorite players, Allen Iverson, he was that for me when I was younger. You know what I'm saying? I remember having Allen Iverson's posters and shoes and all that because I connected with him from that standpoint. You know what I'm saying? Of him being that player. From you know area like me. You know what I mean? So I gotta respect it. I hope that Ja does, turn things around and show up this year and show that he's supportive to his teammates, that he can, hoop again, that he's developed the shot, because I haven't even talked about, on court, but he did definitely regress in shooting, and shooting is terrible right now for him. So I hope that, throughout the off season, he's working on that and showing that he is developing. And I hope that, this is his chance to show that he cares again. That's all. And it's gonna be a beautiful time if everything goes correctly. I'm still questionable on how this team looks, but it can work out. They made the plan last year. I think he doesn't make them worse, but he also doesn't make them better, because he's not what they were lacking last year. Last year they would feel like they were lacking a little more defense, a little more 3-point shooting, and I mean he's not providing for that. You know what I mean? So we'll see what happens. Just my thought. I also, wanted to mix in and tie in that whole rant about the Grizzlies, because I really was a fan of them, and it's sad to see what that organization has become. Hopefully, they do this new era better, because man, that it hurt to see how like they really treated those flock of players. Man, Dylan Brooks literally left them, got better in Houston, showed up for them, became like a great veteran piece. You know what I'm saying? I say veteran loosely because he's still young. And then goes to Phoenix Suns and becomes Devin Booker's Robin, in a sense. His enforcer, that's also his Robin, averaging 20 points per game, bro. Crazy. crazy. You know what I'm saying? Desmond Bain still doing his thing out there in Orlando, being a killer. You know what I mean? Being the grit and grind guy over there now, and also becoming an enforcer for Orlando. You know what I mean? Jaren Jackson waiting on his time patiently. Healing up because here comes Darren Patterson. Here comes a team that's also going to be great down the line, and now you're going to be a part of it. And lastly, I'll end the video saying RP to Brandon Clark, man, because he definitely was an amazing player. And what he provided to that team as well, like you could see it on and off the court, whether that was, in the beginning, them walking out like this every night, or even the post game interviews, how excited they were. That team has a place in my heart. The Tyus Jones, Kenneth Lofton, Steven Adams. I remember them scrapping it out with Shannon Sharp, bro. Ready to get it on. Papa John Moran and out there too, ready to get it on with Shannon Sharp, bro. Like they left moments in our head, bro, and you don't even think about it until it's gone. But very sad. I'm gonna leave it there. I hope y'all enjoyed this video. Like and subscribe. And we'll see what Ja does, man.